The world is a beautiful place. The ability to travel and explore our planet used to be a luxury only afforded by the rich and the super elite. But times are changing, and new advancements in technology has made airfare available to the public. But with this technology, although beneficial for the consumer, can pose challenges and risks with increased competition for airlines such as yourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, judges, my name is Andrew. This is Amy, Haley, and Matt. And today we will be presenting to you our strategy to bring Air New Zealand up into the sky and forward. So looking at our current situation, we're posed with a variety of threats and opportunities in front of us. Most notably, increased competition. Air New Zealand is struggling with heavy competition within their airspace. Airspace that we didn't used to have to compete with, and seats that we used to be able to fill, we now struggle with. Additionally, we have a changing customer need. This means our customers that we served 10 years ago are no longer the customers that we serve today. We need to be agile and adapt to this change. And finally, an opportunity. Air New Zealand is posed with an opportunity of an emerging middle class, opening up new sectors and new regions that we can fly to. So although the skies ahead are starting to look a little great and Air New Zealand is still a strong company, we still are posed with some risks. So in the next 10 minutes, we're going to show you how you can diversify your offerings and strengthen your needs by diversifying Air New Zealand. Where Air New Zealand used to stand as a single, unified company, strong and recognized by the brands of consumers, we hope to split this apart. And in doing so, spinning off a different company, Silver Ferns Air. Air New Zealand will still stand as a strong, unified company that customers know and recognize, but we will operate Silver Ferns Air, a low-cost airline that will target a different consumer base. I will now pass it off to Haley, who will walk you through the next steps.
Thank you, Andrew. So before coming to our decision, we identified a few options that Air New Zealand could do. The first one would be increasing hybridization, another is revenue sharing alliance with a Chinese airline, and the third is creating a low-cost subsidiary. We adhered to 4 major decision criteria that you can see on the right side of the matrix, and identified that creating Silver Fern Air is the best strategy for Air New Zealand moving forward. So as Andrew said earlier, we are diversifying Air New Zealand into Air New Zealand and Silver Fern Air. But in order to complete this diversification, we need to create more distance between these two airlines. And one way we can do this is by adding value to the existing Air New Zealand brand. And that is what I will be talking about in the next few slides. So this is a typical passenger journey of an Air New Zealand customer. So they check in, they go to their gate, they take off and experience the wonderful customer service and in-flight entertainment that Air New Zealand already provides, and they land. But here is where we can really take Air New Zealand from a 10 out of 10 to a 12 out of 10, is by adding value along certain areas in this passenger journey. One option would be is to create an Air New Zealand lounge at the gate. So creating a very relaxed atmosphere before taking off with complimentary New Zealander beverages and snacks. Another is providing information pamphlets on various activities they could do before touching down. And where things really get interesting is we're going to revolutionize the in-flight entertainment by taking the New Zealand passengers to New Zealand before they are even there, through virtual reality headsets. So a passenger can rent a headset and experience beautiful landscapes of Milford Sound or the Bay of Islands during the flight. And this is in-flight entertainment for both children and adults. Finally, landing with a traditional Maori welcome haka video. So I'll now let Amy take you through our low-cost carrier, Silver Fern Airs.
So there's an old New Zealand tale that the Maori people used to take the leaves of silver fern trees and leave them in a trail behind them so that the moonlight reflecting off them would lead them home. So that brings us to Silver Fern Air. It's New Zealand's own low-cost carrier, which will safely and efficiently lead you home. So apart from being safe and efficient, we also want Silver Fern Air to be associated with being secure, simple, and most importantly, being Kiwi. So what does this offer our customers? Well, first of all, as we mentioned, it's low cost. So we want the average price of a flight ticket through Silver Fern Air to be at approximately $105 per flight. These are going to be offered only on small flights, less than 6 hours, which allows us to use smaller planes, which are, for example, the Airbus 320 or the ATR plane. We're going to have more seats on these planes, a little bit less leg room, but we want to make sure we give our customers the lowest cost for their flights. Finally, it's going to be a simplified experience, less services given to them that are unnecessary for them, so that the maximum number of people can use our services. Finally, where are we going to be taking the Silver Fern Air? So we've targeted 3 main areas that we wanted to begin by entering into, and that's New Zealand, Australia, and Asia. And this is simply because, of course, they're close, but at the same time, we have very high traffic coming from these areas, and people in these areas, specifically Asia, can be very price sensitive. So we see this as an advantage for our company to enter into. So finally, how much is this going to be saving both ourselves and our customers? So we see ourselves being able to cut down costs by 20 to 40%. And this comes from cutting down operating costs, being able to fit more people on a plane, so therefore saving on fuel costs. We're going to be saving from just plain services costs and other fixed costs that we can take out by improving our overall operations. Finally, we're going to be looking at decreasing revenues for both ourselves and for our customers. So this is going to be lower cost for them by decreasing the cost for them by 20 to 40%, while maintaining a profit margin of 2.5%. Finally, we're going to be increasing the capacity, as I said, filling up our seats to the maximum that we can, more seats in our airplanes, and utilizing our planes to the maximum. So we've seen that certain planes are only in the air for approximately 6 hours a day. We see this as inefficient, and we want to increase the time that our planes are in the air to decrease our costs overall. So through these, we see an increased revenue of approximately $500 million by 2025. I'm now going to pass it off to Matt to take you through the implementation of these strategies.
So now that we've checked in, or we've boarded, it's time to look at our itinerary. Beginning in 2017, we have 3 initiatives that we'd like to begin. The first of which is obviously converting our planes into, our Air New Zealand planes into Silver Fern planes. We need to make sure that we can fly our passengers wherever they want to go for the cost we expect to fly them there for. At the same time, we'll begin the marketing for Silver Fern Airlines as well. Air New Zealand is already world-renowned for its marketing techniques and innovation in the funny parody videos that we have for safety videos. So we already know that we have much of these capabilities at our disposal. And we can adapt this to other brands such as WOW Air, Norwegian Air, Southwest, and even Air Canada Rouge, who have really pioneered the usage of low-cost budget airlines across continents and across oceans. Next, we'll begin to incorporate the new Air New Zealand features. So we really want to begin to provide better services for our Air New Zealand customers, so that by the time Silver Fern Air is up and running and operational, there really is a true distinction between the 2 services that Air New Zealand and Silver Fern will be offering. And this is the inclusion of the virtual reality headsets that will be available for rental for our customers on our planes, as well as our lounge offerings and more. So then moving into 2019, this is when we really see the kickoff for Silver Fern Air within New Zealand and Australia, and expanding into Asia in 2020. At this time, we can really reevaluate the routes that we've chosen and make sure that we are meeting the quality that our passengers want from us, as well as meeting the usage rates for our planes as well. So if we want to talk about 3 things that we take away from this, what are they? The first of which is that we'll be maintaining the brand image and the quality service that Air New Zealand currently already has, and we'll be strengthening this even more. Customers and passengers who embark on an Air New Zealand plane in the future will be treated to an arrival in New Zealand before they even land in New Zealand. This will also allow us to promote New Zealand even more to people across the world. Secondly, with the introduction of Silver Fern Airlines, we will be able to expand Air New Zealand and Silver Fern to a whole new market that has never been touched before by Air New Zealand. This market will be taking place in Australia and Asia, which are the fastest growing for travel to New Zealand, and can really contribute back to the overall economy of New Zealand, which we all know is overwhelmingly dependent upon tourism from around the world. And then finally, we will be meeting the quality, we'll be meeting what the services that our customers need from us, both in terms of quality and in terms of pricing. And this will allow Air New Zealand to capture a substantial market that relatively few airlines across the world have been able to do so before. To provide as many flights to as many people that want to travel to New Zealand and around the Pacific Theater, and do it at a high quality. The Silver Fern is known for leading people back home. And we would really like to make New Zealand the home away from home for anyone, regardless of how much they expect in terms of quality or can afford. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
First, am I? Can you give me some examples of customer profiles of who would fly on Silverfern Air?
Yeah, so we've actually created a customer profile. So the very first locations that we'll be targeting are actually Australia and Asia. And we realize that people here are going to be price sensitive, especially in the Asian market. So our target profile would be a relatively young age, say from about 18 to 30. For many of these people, they may have already been to New Zealand before and would like to go back for a single week or weekend trip. And so many of them will already have experience with New Zealand and will be coming back in the future.
Can you clarify how Air New Zealand is going to ensure that they solidify their own market?
So like the current market that they're offering?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It's,
maybe, yeah.
So-
cannibalization of their current
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, okay.
There we go.
So yeah, actually cannibalization was one of the things that we considered because by introducing a new airline, we were worrying about people defaulting to the lower cost airline, and we would be operating off smaller margins on the low cost airline. But what we really saw this as inevitable. Basically, we currently have low cost airlines coming into our market already. A $242 flight that we currently offer out of Auckland is being offered by an external low cost airline for $99. That's about 60% less than the price we offer. So in order to try and compete with this, we figured if you can't beat them, join them. So although we do risk some cannibalization, we thought that it would be better to take this back ourselves and rather than offer it on silver plate to our competitors.
You chose two fleet types, the A320 and ATR as example fleet for here, and you include Asia in your markets, and Asia is beyond the range of either of those aircraft, so by definition you're stopping somewhere before flying on. Explain how that works in the rights of the air, and why the second leg, for example, from Beijing to Darwin, you're going to be competitive on that sector.
Yeah, so currently, according to ICAO, there's about 9 freedoms of the air. The 5th freedom of the air is the ability to fly from your home country to another country, disembark, pick up passengers, then fly into the 3rd country. So according to freedoms of the air, which any country which agrees to by the UN, which is every country in the UN, Air New Zealand and thereby Silver Current Air will have the ability to fly layover in Australia up to Asia and therefore back as well.
According to the projections in the case, Air New Zealand has ordered 14 A320s or A321s and 16 ATRs, which they're going to take delivery of in the next 4 years. Do you suggest that some or all of these are used for Silverfern Air, or would you take out some existing Air New Zealand capacity and convert it over?
Yeah, so as we mentioned, we want to be putting new technology into the Air New Zealand planes themselves. So what we want to do is we want to take the new airplanes that we're getting, put them toward Air New Zealand, and be actually converting the older but still, of course, safe and ready to go Air New Zealand airplanes into Silver Current airplanes. So that's simply just adding more seats, changing in the interior up a little bit.
Alright, another right now.
I find your cost reduction assumptions quite heroic, and so can you just talk through how we're going to take out in Silverfern 7% of fuel costs and 12% of operational costs, 7% other fixed costs?
Yeah, so I guess our big assumption, we kind of looked at the other low-cost airlines and how they managed to do this, things such as WOW Air. And one of the big assumptions that we ran on was the fact that we'd be able to increase utilization rate while packing more passengers into a plane. And that would be one of the big contributions because we could drop our fixed costs. A breakdown in terms of the specific costs is right here that we're hoping to achieve. So 12% on our operations. This would largely be achieved by synergies with Air New Zealand. So using the same support staff or whatnot, or call centers, in order to service both companies, we could save on synergies. Fuel costs would be through, again, splitting up a fixed cost. We put more people into an airplane, the cost per person goes down. And then other fixed costs, those are things such as landing fees, as well as other maintenance and just the cost of owning the aircraft by putting more people on them. And then passenger services, so that's quite simply less baggage, and, which we're all clear on. And then airport charges is how we're hoping to do it.
Are you planning on Silver Fern offering fares within New Zealand as well as to Australia and Asia?
Yes, we will be having both domestic flights and international flights under the New Zealand Air brand. And they will be reduced airfare as well.
And what do you see Silver Fern's competitive advantage versus other carriers already operating in Australia and Asia, like AirAsia?
Yeah, so what we really want to emphasize is that we're giving the Kiwi experience. So although it's low cost, it's still a New Zealand company. We want to be giving them the maximum Kiwi experience, also at a low cost and a competitive cost at the same time.
I have a question. I know you're next. Air New Zealand's already operating a load factor of 80 to 85%. So what's it sounds like with your Silver Fern Air, you need a higher load factor than that. What is the strategy for achieving that really high load factor?
Yeah, so it's two parts. It's more people per plane, which we can achieve by hopefully putting more seats in the plane. So reducing business and economy plus, we can put more seats up there. And then additionally, we want to minimize the ground time on the airplane. So we're hoping, because these flights are shorter trips, we can run more flights per day and keep airplanes on the ground less and more in air. And that way we're increasing our utilization as well as the number of customers.
And then additionally, we can already see that Air New Zealand does not offer cheaper flights, whereas many of our competitors already are and are filling their flights. So we want to make sure that we are capturing the same market, which we currently aren't. So we will be loading flights with customers that won't be taking customers away from our Air New Zealand flights currently.
I was just, your strategy relies on there being an increase in tourism, and obviously, as pointed out in the materials, that relies on the infrastructure keeping up with that. Have you done any work, have you done any thinking around the partnerships or the kind of strategies you've got in place, or you've put in place, to make sure that the infrastructure develops sufficiently to ensure that that growth, is fitting with the growth of the whole new airline?
You go for it.
Okay. So to ensure this demand for the airline, we have a few marketing measures to create demand. And a few of it is the social media initiatives, because we're targeting fairly a younger demographic who are quite tech savvy and do a lot of research before they're flying. And these people tend to travel alone for vacation. So we'll have our slogan is "Start your journey with Silver Fern," and have a very strong presence that is integrated across all social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And it'll showcase many of the experiences of the virtual reality experiences and certain aspects of Air New Zealand and Silver Fern Air, but tailored towards Silver Fern Air.
Airlines distribute their tickets through and sell effectively through both direct channels, their own websites and call centers and things, and indirect channels through agencies. And in Asia in particular, the indirect channels are very strong. And so how does Silver Fern Air break into the distribution channels in the offshore markets when, we would be sort of a fraction of 1% of their business?
So currently we already do have some operations from Air New Zealand in China, specifically in Shanghai, Beijing, and Hong Kong. So we already do have connections there inside the airline industry, as well as with our partnership with other airlines, with Starlines. So we can really leverage that connection there with other airlines, as well as the connections we already have inside of the airport and airline industry there in Asia to really penetrate with the Silver Fern ticket distribution and promotion.
A question for the finance person. What do you think of the net profit margin of 2.5%?
So, yeah, we'll put this one up. It's obviously incredibly small. One of the big concerns that we were worried about is that it leaves us very susceptible to even slight changes in the environment, particularly oil prices. So that was one of the things we considered. 32% of Air New Zealand's prices or costs are oil. So our recommendation was actually to hedge our oil prices using a 180-day rolling hedge As you can see, this is just for silver ferns, but a 70% hedge on oil prices is a huge hedge, of course. It's very significant.
Thank you, that is time.